Thanos quickly became one of the most popular villains in movie history. His motivations, his charisma, and how he stole the show really helped the Mad Titan to shine in his role as the main antagonist of the Avengers during the Infinity Saga, and for a good part of the MCU's existence. It can even be argued that in Infinity War he was the protagonist and it was his story that was being told. But what is it that makes this supervillain such a terrifying force in the MCU? Thanos' history in the comics is a bit different than the MCU. In his original version, he is actually the son of Eternals who resided on Saturn's moon of Titan. When he was born, however, he had the deviant gene, a mutant cousin of the Eternals, and due to this his mother wanted to kill him, thinking that he would become a warlord one day, although his father did stop her. As he grew, he turned into a nihilist and eventually found his purpose in life. His motivations in life are a lot simpler, I'd even go as far to say basic and uninspired compared to the film companion. While both believe their actions are morally right, looking at themselves as the heroes of their own story, even as far to think that they're actually helping the universe, it's harder to defend comic Thanos to this belief. After all, his main goal is to gain the affection of Mistress Death, the embodiment of death in Marvel Comics. Over the years, he did many things to achieve this goal, starting off by using his superior genius to use both mysticism and cybernetics to massively increase his strength and power. After doing this, he used his power to become a space pirate and father to spread his influence and power. But he still found no fulfillment in this, eventually killing his family and crew to appease death. This is still not enough, however, so eventually he takes his war to Titan where he bombards it with nuclear weapons, killing millions of his own people. He even gathers the Infinity Stones to wipe out half of the universe, thinking that it will finally appease Mistress Death. But none of this ever seems to be enough. Although at times he does seem to win her affections, a majority of the time she seems far interested in other people, namely one being Deadpool. But again, the main point here is that Thanos' goals vastly differ in the MCU compared to the comics. Thanos' origins in the MCU is that he is an alien from a far-off planet that simply shares the same name with Saturn's moon. Although with the Eternals coming out, we may learn that this planet may have ties to the Eternals, although it is highly unlikely. His goals and reasons for spreading death and war are vastly different. It can be argued that he does it in a misguided attempt to help the universe. That is, up until he is angered by the Avengers and Endgame and decides he is going to reshape the universe in his image, making himself a god. His plans were originally birthed from his original desire to help his own planet's overpopulation and dwindling resources. But since it involved killing half the population at random, they deemed him a madman and banished him. Not too long after, the Titans fell to extinction, leaving Thanos the sole survivor of his species. So you can see here how he could be perceived a hero, wanting to save the universe from the very plague that wiped out his own people. Upon seeing his own people demised, he saw a similar issue spreading across the rest of the universe and decided it was his task to make the universe stable once again. So for many years, while he hunted for the Infinity Stones to complete his plan, he conquered planets and spread genocide wherever he stepped. He used his adopted children to spread his goals and influences to the universe, and allied with some notorious villains to help him retrieve the stones, including Loki and Ronan the Accuser. Even amongst these, he was a feared and respected force in the universe. Upon his ultimate arrival in Infinity War and final appearance in Avengers Endgame, we finally get to see his true strength. In his fight against Hulk, we see that his strength can match Hulk at his base, but his fighting and martial arts skills surpass the Green Brawler by far. Against many of the Avengers, he easily throws many of them aside, only getting stopped for a moment when he seemed to underestimate Captain America's strength. When against Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America in Endgame, he easily faces off against all three, almost defeating each of them at a few points. His fighting skill is unmatched, although when we see him against supernatural powers like Wanda's, he seems to have a bit less success. But the true thing that makes him a terrifying force outside of his own fighting skill is that he has a massive army and the Black Order. Over the years, he created an army comprised of Chitauri, Sakarans, and Outriders. But some of the most fearsome members of this force were the Black Order, Thanos' adopted children. They included Ebony Maw, Cole Obsidian, Proxima Midnight, Corvus Glaive, Gamora, and Nebula. Thanos truly had an excellent eye for talent, picking these 6 out of species he decimated, seeing their potential as warriors for his cause. He commanded great loyalty from almost all of them, losing favor with his youngest 2, Gamora and Nebula. But Thanos did not actually care for most of his children, using them as tools and pawns in his conquest. Out of all of them, however, he did actually feel love for one, Gamora, showing us that although he seems like a sociopath, Thanos did have some semblance of a heart. Even when she betrayed him, he still held out hope that she would one day take his throne. After all, if he didn't really care for Gamora, he would have never gotten the Soul Stone. But unlike others, his love never became a weakness of his, as all his abilities and strength far surpassed anything that might have brought him down. Thanos was a genius. He had intimate knowledge of the stones and how to properly use them. All throughout Infinity War, he commanded them with ease and utilized them to gain the upper hand on all of his enemies. He also was possibly the most intelligent being in the universe, using his long life to amass knowledge on a great many things. This made him a master at being able to manipulate, understand, and read his enemies, giving him the upper hand in most situations. He was a skilled commander of his forces, acting as a master strategist and tactician. This helped him demand loyalty from his forces and helped him to undermine his enemies. On top of being highly intelligent, his strength was unmatched, able to face off against some of the strongest heroes, including Hulk, Thor, and Captain America. He was also extremely durable and had advanced healing abilities. It took 2 snaps to put Thanos in the state he ended up in at the start of Endgame, while it only took 1 snap to put Hulk in a nearly similar state. After all, he survived an axe to the chest, and a few days later seemed completely healed from the ordeal. Despite his immense size, Thanos also had superior speed and agility. He was able to react in combat far quicker than any human or even Asgardian. He took on 3 combatants at once in the battle for Earth, and held his own against Thor, Tony, and Steve for a good part of that battle. He also appeared to experience no fatigue, able to fight for extended periods of time, able to keep up with his opponents, ultimately wearing them down before they even began to erode his energy. And then on top of all of this, he was essentially immortal, having lived for thousands of years prior to the events of the Infinity Saga, meaning that all he was able to do, he had many years to practice and grow his skills. So that is why by the time he shows up in Infinity War, because he had such great knowledge of his enemy and a determination that outshined any of the Avengers, he won and he achieved his goal. He was the protagonist of that story and he did what he set out to do. He truly became one of the most feared and most popular villains of all time. And if not that, simply for the MCU. They improved drastically on the source material and made you think maybe Thanos was right. What did you think of Thanos and what was your favorite part of the story in the MCU? Again, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to tell us your thoughts in the comments below and then like this video and subscribe to the Marvelous Wave to assemble and join our team and have a great day.